Herzlich willkommen. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between do and sie, the two forms of speech in German. And it's pretty important. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to those as well. All right, so why are there two different forms? So we don't really use these forms in English. They actually do exist, as I'll show you a little bit later, but that's kind of just fallen out of use. We have the Z form for a more formal form. This is probably if you took German in high school or even in an immersion program, we didn't use a lot of Z. You might not. I didn't. And you might not have used a lot of the formal Z, but you are going to need to use it on your mission. And then there's also the do form, the less formal form that you use with other people. You'll probably use that as well. Here's the main thing. Consult your mission rules first. When I was on my mission, the rule was we used the formal form with everyone all the time. I don't know. That might be different. My mission was a while back. So just know your mission rules on this. Like we could really only use the informal with little kids. And yeah, that was sometimes a little bit awkward. So hopefully you might have a little bit more latitude with how to use do and z. So you're going to use z with adults that you don't know yet. Haben Sie, wann haben Sie Zeit, kennen Sie, können Sie. Using using the word z in there. And when we use do, the do often gets dropped, but the z, you don't drop it. It's always there. And you got to remember a lot of there's a lot of other words that mark it as formal. Like, for example, we don't say wie geht's dir, we say wie geht's Ihnen. Ihnen. That shows that it's the formal form. Können Sie mir helfen instead of kannst du mir helfen, for example. Let's dive a little bit deeper into this. All right, so a few things to remember. Do, when you're using that form, the informal form, things end with st. And think about it. It's actually the same in English. We have this form still, but we only use it for prayers. It's the thou form. Think about thou hast, du hast, thou kannst, du kannst. It's the same thing. German and English have that in common. They are related languages in a lot of their grammar. But we just dropped off the thou form. We don't really use it much anymore in everyday speech, unless you're doing Shakespeare, doing something that's older English, or you're praying. Another thing to remember is that when you're giving a command, that you have to drop the word do and the ending. So you say geh, go, not geh do, or geh, you don't put that in there at all. Just geh. It's very short. And then in the z form, you add en. And then you keep the word z and the ending in command. So instead of just saying geh, you say gehen Sie. It's a little bit longer. The formal form is usually a little bit more. There's more words. There's longer words. It's more formal. So the difference between geh, gehen Sie, Spiel, spielen Sie, bet, beten Sie, schlaf, schlafen Sie. So you see that there's that big difference between the commands, and that's something you'll do a lot, or use these command forms. So make sure you know that really well. Okay, so do, I've provided some visuals to help you with this. So when you're speaking to small children, you can use the do form. Or if it's a group of children, you actually use the ear form. But we're just going to focus on do and z for right now. If you're speaking to animals, use the do form. So if someone has a dog, they use do with their dog. And a lot of Germans do have dogs, so they use do. You use it with your friends. So people your own age, people you know, as a sign of your closeness, your friendship, you use du with each other. And then in prayer, when speaking to God, you use the familiar form. Like we do in English, we say, thou hast, blah, blah, blah. You say, du hast in, well, I shouldn't say blah, blah, blah when you're praying, but thou hast, du hast. You use this familiar form with our Heavenly Father. Kind of nice. I like that we do that. So remember, wie geht es dir? That's the informal. Wie heißt du? Woher kommst du? We use du and dir when we're speaking informally. So let's contrast that with sie, the formal. Okay, you use sie with like police officers, firefighters, people in authority. Like if you're ever stopped by a police officer, don't use the do form. Hopefully you're never stopped by a police officer or a firefighter or something like that. But yeah, if you are, use the Z form. It's often used for, so people older than you, adults that you don't know especially, will expect you to speak to them in the Z form. So usually when if you're talking to people on the street, or you're knocking on someone's door and talking to them, you would start with the Z form. And hopefully, if you get to know each other better, you might transition into using the do form. And when you go shopping, like if you're interacting just with strangers, like when you're out shopping or doing something, like someone who is ringing you up at a store or is waiting on you at a restaurant, just use the formal form. That's what's expected. So instead of wie geht es dir, it's wie geht es Ihnen. Wie heißen Sie? Woher kommen Sie? So Sie and Ihnen are those words that show, yes, this is the formal form and not the informal one. And so once you get to know someone better, this is the question. You say, darf ich Sie duzen? That means, am I allowed now to use the informal form with you, the du form? Wir duzen einander. we use du with each other. We're allowed to speak in that informal way, and that's usually a sign of your friendship. But remember, you need to follow your mission rules, whatever they happen to be. Mine were, even if they wanted to duzen, we weren't usually allowed to do that. So who knows? Just make sure you follow the rules. That's more important than even than grammar. I know, shocking. But hey, let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will try to get to them. Like if you, hey, this is in this situation when I use do or sie, let me know. Und bis nächstes Mal. Tschüss.